Hello nitwits and welcome to Knitting Time with Willie. I'm your host Willie Muse, joined as always by my co-host Nitkalis. And as you can see by the fact that I'm currently decked out in my glorious skeleton sweater, it's time for yet another episode of my ongoing series, Hey. This thing is popular. Maybe if I make a video about it, the algorithm will promote me and I will become popular too. I think that might be the first time I've ever used the word glorious in a sentence. Whatever, it works. This sweater is glorious. And actually, if we're being honest, I feel like my love for this sweater is the only thing that's keeping this series going at this point. Having an excuse to wear this bad boy is the only reason I can think of why I would even bother to keep cranking these videos out. As some, but not a lot of you already know, in this series I make videos about topics that I believe to be popular on the internet to see if doing that will improve my standing with the YouTube algorithm in a way that will get me more views. And so far, the answer is no. It won't. These videos don't tend to do very well. If we're being honest, a few of them probably weren't even worth the time that I put into them, but whatever, I'll be damned if this sweater doesn't look great on me. Still, just because the videos I've done so far have ranged in popularity from to Jesus Christ, should I delete my channel? I do still think that the plan at the core of this series could work, I just haven't been going about it in the right way. After all, the success of these things hinges on my ability to make content about topics that are popular, so it makes sense that I haven't been able to get it right yet, because the sad truth is that I do not have a goddamn clue what's popular anymore. When I started out, I thought I might still have a vague idea, but no. Mentally, I feel like I'm still somewhere in the summer of 2016, I feel like that was the last time I had my finger on anything resembling the pulse, and I think part of me feels like, well, I still like all the same things I liked back then, so it stands to reason that everyone else must too. As it turns out, though, that is not the case. In internet time, that 7 years is, well, however long it takes for a human to die of old age and then slowly turn from a rotting corpse into a pile of meaningless dust. I'm out of the loop is my point. And really, I feel like that's been my downfall with this series. I'm so blind to so much of pop culture these days that I don't even realize how blind I am. And because of that, my dumb ass has been living in blissful ignorance, coming on here thinking that there was a chance in hell that my Shane Dawson hot takes might somehow blow up. That changes today, though. This time around on, hey, this thing is popular. Maybe if I make a video about it, the algorithm will promote me and I will become popular too. I have decided to switch things up. Rather than talking about things I believe are popular, I will instead educate myself on one of my many pop culture blind spots in hopes that I might find my way back into the loop. And as best I can tell, I have no bigger blind spot currently than whatever the fuck Mr. Beast is. I've heard a lot about Mr. Beast, but I still feel like I don't really know who or what they actually are, and I feel like that's very strange, because one thing I do know about them is that they are incredibly popular. If I ever go on YouTube and forget to sign in, the entire front page is Mr. Beast videos. Based on a cursory glance of their page, their content gets millions, if not hundreds of millions of views, and I'm pretty sure that I saw one of their videos get covered on the news. I'm not sure if that's actually true because I have no clue when I would have been watching the news, but I do have a vague memory of it, so maybe. Clearly, Mr. Beast is very, very big, and the fact that I know very little about them is proof that I am incredibly behind on pop culture, so I have decided here and now to change that. Basically what's going to happen is that I'm going to select a few random Mr. Beast videos and watch them. And then I'm going to come back here and share all my thoughts and everything I learned with you guys. It's my hope that by studying their content, I'll not only gain a greater understanding of what's popular on the internet these days, but also finally be able to answer a question I've been asking myself a lot recently. Who the fuck is Mr. Beast? Not gonna lie, I'm a little bit worried about the comment section for this one.
I'm gonna spend the next 50 hours buried alive in this coffin. Probably the dumbest thing I've ever done.
Okay, so the first Mr. Beast video I ever watched honestly kind of surprised me. It's currently the 4th highest viewed video on his channel, and it's about Mr. Beast being buried alive for 72 hours straight. Or at least I think it's Mr. Beast. There are actually a lot of boys running around making noise in this video, so I'm still not crystal clear on if Mr. Beast is one single person or if it's the name of their entire little gang. That said, there's one boy named Jimmy who's clearly the leader, and I kind of assume that he's Mr. Beast, so that's who I'm going to be talking about when I refer to Mr. Beast going forward. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. Or don't tell me and just make fun of how lame and out of touch I am behind my back. But anyway, in this video, Mr. Jimmy Beast buries himself alive while his chums talk to him and make sure he doesn't asphyxiate. And like I said, I was honestly surprised by it because it was not what I was expecting his videos to be like. I admittedly knew very little about Mr. Beast going into this video, but the little I did know led me to believe that his content would be very nice and happy, but this was honestly just kind of dark. Although I guess it was also kind of nice and happy too. I don't really know how to explain it.
Welcome to my coffin. I have a camera here, and down by my feet.
If I were to describe it, I'd say that it's kind of like the Kids Bop version of Jackass. Like it has all of the straight boy gallivanting and easily emulated risk, but without any of the grit and grime. It feels very glossy to me, if that makes sense.
You prove I'm buried underground currently. Or step on me, that works as well.
I feel like the goal with Jackass was much more about the individual performers hanging out with one another and pushing each other to the limit, whereas here, it kind of feels like Mr. Beast was just trying to think of the most over-the-top, clickable thing he could do to try and attract viewers, and then they just added the friends as an afterthought so he had someone to talk to because otherwise it would be boring. And honestly, even the stunt itself feels like kind of an afterthought. I get the vibe like someone very abstractly pitched the idea of burying the main guy alive for 3 days, and everyone was like, yeah, that'll get a lot of views, but then they actually went to do it and realized like, hey, this is actually very dark and it doesn't really mesh with our brand so well. So let's do it, but let's do the softest, most inoffensive, glossiest version of it we can muster. Because like I said, this is an extremely dark video. The concept is very morbid and it is not that much better in practice. At one point, one of the dudes pisses on his friend's grave.
Okay, I have to pee. I'm peeing on your grave.
Still, everyone is so cheery and giggly about it that it doesn't really register unless you think about it for longer than 2 seconds, and I don't really think that's an issue because I don't believe that this is the kind of video that you're meant to think about for longer than 2 seconds. The more I think about it, the more I think that despite its macabre nature, there's nothing about this video that would contradict my initial conception of Mr. Beast as this very happy and nice guy. This video is actually very happy and nice in a way that almost swings back around to being off-putting.
Just vibing in my coffin.
Everyone here is having the time of their life, even the guy who's been stuffed in a coffin for 3 days, which is weird. Like, I would never personally seek out a video where someone buried themselves alive, but if I did, I would absolutely want them to suffer in it. There are very few frames of this video where Jimmy Beast doesn't have the biggest grin I've ever seen across his face, and it feels kinda like it defeats the purpose of this sort of video.
I'm terrified.
The fact that he can keep a smile for 72 hours period, much less for 72 hours while he's in a coffin, makes me feel like either the stunt is fake, his emotions are fake, or he's warped in a way that makes being buried alive for 3 days tolerable for him. And for the record, I don't think it's the stunt that's fake, for the mere fact that they make a point of saying outright that it's not.
Whenever I do these challenges, people are always like, "Fake, you didn't show us how you use the bathroom." Well, since you guys want to know, this is how. I'll be back in a second.
And obviously lying exists, but if it were to come out that he was lying, that statement would feel so egregious and Mr. Beast would have so much to lose from it that I kind of assume that if Mr. Beast were actually faking it, they'd at least be smart enough to just omit that part. If I had to put money on it, I'd say that the most likely explanation is that Jimmy is faking his emotions, because, well, of course he is. Even if he wasn't 6 feet under while he was doing it, for him to be that chipper on camera makes me feel like he's probably playing it up at least a little bit.
I'm peeing on your grave.
I'd rather you not. What if it seeps into my coffin?
Based on this first video, I get the sense that he's trying very hard to be perceived as a really nice guy, and like, maybe he is a really nice guy. I have no proof to the contrary yet, but the way he's portraying himself does make me feel like I should be hyper vigilant for any excuse not to trust him. That said though, I get the appeal. Like, it's a little loud for me personally.
Chris!
What?
I want to get out. I'm tired of being in here. Just tase me.
Oh wait, really? Actually?
No, idiot! Why would I get out with 3 hours left? What am I, stupid?
But I don't think that this was meant for me. I feel like the target audience here is like a 12 to 16-year-old boy, and if I'm right, then this feels like an amazing wish fulfillment fantasy, where you get to peek into a world where everyone's having fun, all you do is goof around with your buds, and nobody gets hurt. Like, at one point they light off fireworks with a flamethrower. I would have killed to do that with my friends in 8th grade. Well, not really, because I was much too much of a wuss to try anything like that because I was too worried I'd be killed, but I would have killed to have been cool enough to have wanted to do that with my friends in 8th grade. Also, don't think I technically had friends in 8th grade, so. But yeah, based on this first video, my initial thoughts are not for me, but I get it. I'm gonna keep digging though.
I will be donating $100,000 to streamers.
But they're gonna have to earn it.
Okay, so for my next video, I wanted to check out something more in line with what I imagined Mr. Beast's videos would be like based on the little I knew about him going into this. My initial assumption was that he was kind of like some weird combination of Logan Paul and Santa Claus who gives people money at random and then makes content by filming their reaction, and so I wanted to find a video where he does a giveaway. With that in mind, I decided to click into something called donating $100,000 to random streamers, and well, the title doesn't lie. That's basically what happens in it. Mr. Jimmy Beast and his friend go into a bunch of random streams and enter the streamers hosting them into little competitions for thousands of dollars without their knowledge, and it's actually pretty fun. Kinda. I don't know, I'm very conflicted.
Do you have your next contestant?
I do have my next contestant.
I have my next contestant. And now they will be competing for $4,000. First one to blink 20 times wins $4,000. 1, 2, what if 3?
It falls into a genre of content that I most closely associate with Ellen, and because of that, I like to refer to it as degenerosity. I'm not gonna lie, I'm very proud of myself for coming up with that term. And if for some reason you don't know what I'm talking about with my awesome new word that will definitely be in dictionaries soon, what I mean by degenerosity is extreme acts of kindness that are done for the sole purpose of garnering a huge reaction that will look good on camera. Pay someone's bills for them, and that's being generous, but hand them the check on camera and have their soldier husband that they didn't know was flying home from Kabul for the night handed to them, and that's being degenerous. And it's hard for me to say where I fall on stuff like this, because I do think that any good that comes from it is genuinely good, but I also think that it doesn't count as actual generosity, because ultimately, anyone doing it is doing it for themselves. And I guess even if that's true, that's still kind of commendable. This is obviously Mr. Beast's job, so of course he's doing it for himself. He was gonna be making a shit ton of money on whatever else he might have spent the time it took to make this video on, so the fact that he figured out a way to get other people some money out of it is pretty cool. Like, I can't be sure, but I'm fairly certain the money they were giving out was provided by Raid Shadow Legends.
Oh, you know what you should do, Jimmy? You should give some Raid Shadow Legends streamers some money.
Are you speaking of Raid Shadow Legends, the most ambitious RPG crossover of 2019?
Why, yes, I am speaking of Raid Shadow Legends.
Convenient. They're the sponsor.
And based on my admittedly limited experience working with advertisers, I feel pretty confident that this is the best case scenario for how that $100,000 could have been spent. Maybe I'm wrong. Any advertisers looking to educate me by working with me, please let me know. But I do feel like advertisers frequently blow way more than $100,000 on much stupider things than helping streamers buy groceries. That said, though, there is also something kind of dystopian about stuff like this. Like, at one point, a dude breaks down in tears because he has been given a couple grand, and he starts talking about how he's going through a hard time.
I thought I was gonna have to stop streaming and get a different job. We were gonna talk about budget today.
Budget?
And then I found out that my dad has skin cancer.
Oh, wow.
Someone tell me that's real.
It is real.
Dude, Mr. Beast, thank you so much, man. I knew you were coming over to Mixer, but I didn't think I was anybody important.
You're very important.
You're very important to all of us.
Let's get some hugs, man. Hugs for Mr. Beast.
And while I'm obviously happy for him and think it's great that he got that break, I can't watch that clip and not think that it's fucked up that this random piece of luck on a piece of content might be the difference between his father living and dying. Mr. Beast and his friend clearly spend this much money a lot, so this all seems like a fun little game to them, but watching moments like that, I can't help but think about how much that money could actually mean to a lot of people, and because of that, watching them throw it around all willy-nilly does kind of leave a bad taste in my mouth. Watching this video, I kept jumping back and forth between thinking that Mr. Beast seems like a decent dude who is using his platform for a lot of good, and feeling like Mr. Beast is the internet version of a Depression-era robber baron throwing handfuls of coins at poor people's feet screaming, "Dance for me!" And I'm still not entirely sure where I land.
Download Raid Shadow Legends using Mr. Beast's link.
One thing that I am sure of, though, is that while I feel like that moment I just showed you was meant to be heartwarming, my takeaway from it is more that it's infuriating that our healthcare system is so broken that someone needed a random encounter with Mr. Beast in order to pay for cancer treatment. And in Mr. Beast's defense, it's not his fault that we live in a deeply broken system, and he honestly doesn't lean into the emotional porn aspects of stuff like this as much as he probably could have in this video. That said, though, if I'm right in saying that this kind of content is his bread and butter, then I do kind of question how I feel about him, because regardless of how well it's made or what his intentions are behind it, it's hard for me to watch stuff like this and not come away from it feeling just the slightest bit queasy.
I recreated every single set from Squid Game in real life, and whichever one of these 456 people survives the longest wins 456 grand.
Now that I feel like I have a better grasp on what to expect from a Mr. Beast video, I've decided to finally tackle the one I was most interested to watch when I started doing this deep dive, and that is the one that I may or may not have seen covered on the news, $456,000 Squid Game in real life. It's not the best title. And again, there's a solid chance that I dreamed that news coverage because I genuinely don't think that I've actually sat down and watched the news since Obama's first term, but having now watched the video, I will say that at the very least it would make sense if it was covered on the news. Everything about it feels zeitgeisty. Squid Game was very zeitgeisty at the time, and Mr. Beast is apparently always zeitgeisty, so putting the two things together feels like a real slam dunk. What's more is the fact that Squid Game and Mr. Beast are a match made in heaven. Provided, of course, that heaven is dictated by the YouTube algorithm, but at this point I do kind of assume that it is. The show was literally about a way that people could earn money that was this big, compelling to watch spectacle, so I feel like it checks literally every last one of Mr. Beast's boxes. It's honestly such a perfect confluence of things that I feel like Mr. Beast probably could have really half-assed this video and it still would have been a huge hit for him, but to his credit, he really does make the most of this premise. For those of you who don't know, in the video, he basically just recreates all of the challenges from Squid Game, and say what you will about Jimmy Beast, but what he and his team managed to pull off in this video is truly remarkable. Like, apparently, Netflix is also in the process of making its own real-world version of Squid Game, and from what I've heard, it is not going well. The fact that this comparably much smaller team was able to do it much smoother with a much quicker turnaround time is insane to me, especially because, well, I guess I don't know what Netflix's Squid Game is going to look like, but I can't imagine that it's going to look any better than this one does, because they really do knock it out of the park.
We are now at the Glass Bridge set, and look at how insane this thing looks. It is amazing.
I don't know much about Mr. Beast's background, but as best I can tell, he was just some kid who got popular on YouTube. So the fact that he managed to turn a Google login and a webcam into that makes me feel like there's gotta be something genuinely impressive about this dude. He set out to recreate Squid Game as a YouTube video, and he absolutely did that, so good for him. That said though, I do kind of wonder if recreating Squid Game as a YouTube video is something that anyone should be doing. You don't have to watch this video for very long to realize that Jimmy didn't really understand the point of Squid Game. Like seriously, when I said that there's something dystopian about this kind of video last time, I didn't think that things would get quite this literal. I'm obviously not an expert on Squid Game, if we're being honest. I was calling it The Squid Games until I looked it up to write this script, but one thing I feel pretty confident in saying is that the games themselves are not supposed to be a good thing, and given how much time and effort they clearly put into researching every detail of the show in order to recreate it, it feels weird to me that they would have missed that fact. And I know that there are a lot of interpretations of the show, but I feel like the most commonly accepted one is that it's a critique of capitalism. You have all of these rich people who get their jollies off of watching poor people with less than them compete to the death, and those people are only willing to compete because the need for money in a capitalist system is so powerful that it forces them to act in ways that they otherwise wouldn't. And like I said, this is a freakishly accurate recreation, so whether intentionally or not, all that stuff is present in the Mr. Beast video too. Well, not the death. I guess people aren't actually dying. Although they are being shot with squibs, which feels like a weird choice.
It works! We got him!
Still, homicides aside, Mr. Beast does very effectively recreate Squid Game, and that's not really a good thing to be doing, and like, I kind of get the sense that they know on some level that it's not a good thing to be doing because they go to great lengths to make this seem like the nicer version of Squid Game. Along with the whole not murdering people thing that they do, everything here is very happy and smiley, and they also make sure to let us know that everyone who doesn't win will still be receiving a consolation prize of $2,000 because this is all just for fun and everybody's a winner. Like, maybe I'm wrong and everyone really is just having a good time, but I can't watch this without picturing someone like from the last video who really just needed a way to pay some necessary bills they were drowning in, only to watch their dreams explode in a burst of prop blood. And when I do that, it makes the giant grin that's constantly on Mr. Beast's face feel a lot less cheery.
We got him! You're definitely out. Dude, I knew that would work.
Because even if they were successful in making this into the shiny, happy version of Squid Game, the people who are making it are still doing the bad thing that Squid Game told them not to do. They're using money to manipulate people's actions for the entertainment of others. For me, the darkest part of this video happens in the 4th challenge, when they decide to pair every contestant up with their best friend there and make them compete against each other.
As you guys know from Squid Games, game number 4 is marbles. I don't know if I'd be cheering, because instead of letting you pick your partner, we're gonna make you partner with your best friend. Throughout this entire challenge, we've been monitoring who you've been talking to the most, and we're gonna make you partner up with them.
And only one of you can move on. Everybody gets a bag of 10 marbles, and they have to agree on a game to play against their best friend. 20 marbles lets them move on, but by winning, they eliminate their best friend.
And I've covered enough reality television to comfortably say that as far as heartless emotional manipulation on film goes, this is fairly tame. But that said, that doesn't mean that it's not still kind of fucked up.
Oh my gosh. Congratulations on winning. I'll see you in the next round.
You're good, buddy. You're good, okay?
Why are you sad? It's gonna be okay.
We promised each other we were not gonna screw each other over. I didn't even know we were gonna be this close.
I'm doing this for my family, but I'm nervous.
Their goal here was clearly to try and mind drama, and because of that, it makes all the video's other attempts to seem cheery and nice ring kind of hollow to me, because when all is said and done, the point of this video isn't to be nice. It's to get a lot of views. The ultimate irony of this whole thing is that despite being inspired by one of the most well-known critiques of capitalism of our time, the video itself is ultimately one of the most purely capitalist things that something can be. It's an advertisement.
And while they're fighting for their chance in this competition, I want to tell you guys about Brawl Stars, who helped fund this video, which cost over $3.5 million. Thank you so much. Throw.
The more I think about it, the more the image of him casually talking about the $3.5 million it took to make this thing, while a row of people behind him are battling it out for the opportunity to win a small fraction of that, does start to feel kind of messed up. And obviously, this is what those people signed up for, and it's not like they get nothing, but I don't know, I feel like if you were to sit them down after the fact and show them how much money Brawl Stars made from the video, and how much money they might have made as an actor for the same amount of work, the $2,000 they got paid from being eliminated would probably start to feel a lot smaller. And again, I have nothing against advertisements. I cannot stress that enough. But please, let me do ads for you advertisers. That said though, I think that an ad should be an ad, and this video really feels like it's pretending to be a lot more than that. Based on the little I know about him and the few videos I've seen, I feel fairly confident in saying that this is Mr. Beast's business model. He creates viral stunts that lots of people are going to watch, and then he has corporations fund the whole endeavor for the opportunity to slap their name on it because they know that this is a surefire way to make hundreds of millions of people aware of their products. And good for him, he's clearly very good at it, but I also think that this has been the thing about him that I've been struggling with. Like I said earlier, that there's something kind of creepy about him to me, and I think that it might just be that he clearly has an ulterior motive. He's trying to make himself seem like your friend, but really he's just trying to sell you something. He's a much larger scale version of that girl you knew in high school who got caught up in an MLM, only unlike that girl, he's actually managed to get people to listen to him.
In this video, we're curing 1,000 people's blindness. It's gonna be crazy.
Okay, so truth told, after I wrote the last section, I kind of gave up on working on this video because, well, first the holidays and then MILF Manor premiered, so my priorities shifted a little. A few weeks ago, though, a new Mr. Beast video came out that dominated online chatter, and it made me feel like I should probably dust off my old scripts and finish this thing up because, well, nothing says algorithm gold like being a month or so late to the conversation. And if for some reason you don't know what I'm talking about because you're emotionally healthy enough to stay away from Twitter, Mr. Beast recently made a video where he literally started curing the blind, and like, boy, if I wasn't feeling conflicted about this guy before, I sure as hell am now. Writing this video has given me a lot of emotional whiplash. First things first, I need to say that I have a large chunk of egg on my face because despite everything I said in the last section, this was not an ad for anything. No sponsor was mentioned, and I feel like a damn fool. But part of me feels like I should maybe edit that last part out, but, well, I already made it. So. On top of that, I feel like kind of a dick for calling Mr. Beast creepy, because a lot of the shit that happens here is undeniably commendable. Not only is he using what seems to be his own money for an extremely good cause, but he's also using his platform to educate people in a way that's pretty awesome.
Most of us see the world like this. But here's the thing, 200 million people see the world like this.
They can't see, but we have all the technology to fix it.
Yep, half of all the blindness in the world is people who need a 10-minute surgery.
Crazy.
Granted, it's maybe not the most nuanced discussion of blindness I've ever seen.
Jeremiah has been blind in his right eye since he was born, and it's affected his vision his entire life.
But I'll be perfectly honest, I had no idea that such a large percentage of blindness was even curable to this extent, and I feel like I'm not the only one, so chances are that this video is going to impact the lives of a lot more people than just the ones who are operated on, just by virtue of making people see the issue. That was a blindness joke. When this video came out, I saw a lot of people saying a lot of the same stuff that I have about Mr. Beast, and a lot more people saying, why the fuck are you picking on a dude who literally just healed the blind? And I'm not gonna lie, I felt like I was a little bit on the wrong side of history to not be 100% on his side. That said though, I wasn't 100% on his side. I was still very conflicted about him. Every hot take I read about the stunt on Twitter made sense to me, and I think that the people who said them were probably right to say them. Still, I get the frustration that can come from somebody doing something like this that just seems good beyond reproach, and then watching some nerd on Twitter like me try and reproach it. Existing in the world today is complicated enough, so when something like this comes around, I really truly do understand the impulse to throw your hands in the air and say like, can't we just have nice things? If I were to talk to someone helped by this video and bring up literally any negative about it that I read online, I feel like they'd probably stare me dead in the eyes and be like, okay, but you know that I can see now though, right? And they'd be absolutely right to say that, but that said, I'm still not entirely sure how I feel about this video. I think honestly, the thing that gets the most under my skin here is the fact that, well, it still very much feels like a Mr. Beast video. It feels like it's trying to make sure that every aspect of itself is very glossy and nice, and well, I guess on one hand that does make sense. It is about curing the blind. Parts of the video couldn't be more emotionally affecting if they were happening to a bunch of one-legged puppies.
Before the operation, you mentioned the first thing you wanted to see was your son.
Seeing him and seeing his face, that's what I miss.
There you go.
That said though, not everything about this is nice. There's a lot of dark shit buried just beneath the surface, and whether intentionally or not, a lot of the video's inspirational tone feels like it's working double time to mask all that stuff. Like, maybe I'm just broken, but the biggest emotional response I had to this video wasn't joy at a dude being able to see his son for the first time in a long time. It was anger that there's apparently a 10-minute surgery that can cure people's blindness, and people still need to rely on the random generosity of an influencer with a huge smile in order to get it. At one point, a man talks about how now that he can see again, he'll be able to get back to work, and like, that's great, I'm happy for him, but my first thought upon hearing that was that I sure wish that there were better safety nets in place for all the blind people who couldn't be healed by Mr. Beast, because maybe I'm just a horrible optimist, but I super don't think that a person's ability to join the workforce should dictate whether they live or die. The video exists because of a whole lot of societal ills that allowed it to exist, and I truly do not think that those are in any way Mr. Beast's fault. But if the good that he does in this video means that we can't start a conversation about how to do more without being an asshole, then it kind of diminishes a lot of the good that he does with this video. I honestly don't think that a lot of the responses I saw necessarily had to be viewed as anti-Mr. Beast. In a perfect world, I think ultimately everyone would be on the same side against preventable blindness, but unfortunately this isn't a perfect world, it's the internet, which is arguably the opposite of that. Everyone on here is so primed to jump down each other's throats the second they sense any amount of disagreement that civil discourse honestly doesn't even make sense sometimes, because everyone knows that it's just going to get turned up to 11 anyway. Honestly, the majority of responses I saw just said that what Mr. Beast did is truly great, but he could have done more, and I think that people see that who watch the video and are fans and think like, how are you gonna tell someone who just cured 1,000 blind people that they can do more? Your children are ugly and I hope they drop dead. And I think that the video itself inadvertently fosters that sort of sentiment. It works so hard to maintain the happy, uplifting tone that you come to expect from a Mr. Beast video that it doesn't leave room for much of anything else. The point of it is to be uplifting, and in order to do that, it needs to provide its viewers with a sense of closure. But by doing that, it does kind of make you leave feeling like, well, thank God Mr. Beast fixed that problem, which honestly isn't great. Because for what it's worth, I do think that he very easily could have done more in this video. I rewatched to make sure, and he doesn't really talk about any ways that people who aren't him can help. He just basically presents a problem and then fixes it. He does share a link to a site which provides further information about the issue just above a link to something called Mr. Beast Snacks, but he doesn't call that link out in the video, and if you weren't actively looking for it, I feel like you might very easily miss it next to this much larger subscribe. The closest he gets to a call to action is giving the doctor who performed the surgeries a check for $100,000, which the doctor says will go towards further surgeries, and like, again, awesome, that's way more than I have ever done for humanity. But that, like a lot of things that happen here, kind of give the impression that everything's okay now thanks to Mr. Beast, and I think that's kind of intentional. The point of this video is to make you feel good about the world, so doing anything that might leave the viewer thinking that there's still a lot of unresolved shit out there would kind of undermine that point. I truly think that there would be nothing negative I could say about this video if it included a brief part at the end that said curing 1,000 people is a great start, but there's still more we can do and here's how you can help, but he doesn't do that. Instead, he includes this weird end screen that says, I wonder if we'll get 1,000 more views from the people we cured, lol, and I'm not gonna lie, it feels telling. Because the more I think about it, the more I think that I have to take back what I said about taking back what I said, because I do actually think that this is an advertisement. It's just that the thing it's advertising is Mr. Beast himself. Of all the videos from him that I've seen so far, this is the one that most resembles what I was expecting a Mr. Beast video to be like when I set out to make this deep dive. He really is trying to lay on the spectacle here. Which is ironic because the goal of the video was to make people take off their spectacles. That wasn't my strongest joke, but I stand by it nonetheless. By far the strangest part of this whole thing is the fact that along with the surgeries, he gives the blind people $10,000, and like, I don't want to be on the side where I'm arguing against giving blind people money in literally any way, but that said, I'm not entirely sure why he's doing it. I don't know if this makes sense, but it kind of just feels like he's going into Mr. Beast Berserker mode a little bit.
You pay for my surgery?
Yes.
Seriously?
You know what? Here's $10,000. Make your day even better.
At one point, a person who lost his eyesight mentions that he really wants to be able to drive one day, and so this happens.
He mentioned multiple times he really wants to drive after this procedure fixes his eyesight. So I'll see you at the end of the video when we surprise him with a brand new Tesla.
And like, that's nice, I guess, but the dude literally doesn't know how to drive yet, so giving him a Tesla feels like a weird choice. And what makes things even weirder is that he literally mentions that he lost his eyesight in a go-karting accident.
He had poor vision from birth and almost lost his entire vision after a go-karting accident.
I'm all for charity, but I feel like at the very least, we should hold off on getting him behind the wheel of a car so soon. Narratively, this moment makes no sense in a video about people being cured of their blindness, and I feel like the purpose of giving that dude a car is twofold. First, it incentivizes people to stay to the end of the video to keep Mr. Beast's watch time up, and second, it gives Mr. Beast the opportunity to flex, because, make no mistake, he is absolutely flexing here.
What? This is your brand new Tesla. If Chris wrecks it, I'll buy another one.
There's one small moment when he's talking to one of the younger people being operated on really stood out to me.
How's it going?
Okay. Yeah, I've been subscribed to you for like 11 years.
Really? Oh my gosh.
And like, on the surface, nothing about that clip seems all that bad, but when you think about how he presumably has hours of footage of himself with hundreds of people, the fact that a moment where a young fan talks about how much he loves Mr. Beast made the cut of the 8 minutes they eventually showed us does feel like a very intentional choice. Mr. Beast is clearly a master of public relations who understands the power of one's own image, and maybe I'm just a jaded asshole, but that really feels like the ultimate point of this video. Mr. Beast seems like he's doing what he can here to cement his status as the ultimate kind, generous, all-loving internet god, and when I think about it that way, the fact that he does it by making a video about himself curing the blind does kind of start to feel a little bit on the nose. Okay, so regardless of anything I said about that last Mr. Beast video I watched, there's one thing that can't be denied, and that's that it's genuinely impressive what he managed to pull off in it. I personally have trouble figuring out how to schedule an appointment with my primary care physician, and their number is listed right there on my insurance card, so the fact that he managed to get to a point where he had the infrastructure and resources to pull off something way more complicated 1,000 times over is pretty insane, and it made me wonder how he got there, because that sort of thing doesn't just happen. With that in mind, I decided that I want the next video of his that I watched to be the very first instance that Mr. Beast did one of his insane giveaways in order to get a better sense of this guy's origin story and figure out how he became the internet's favorite philanthropist. Unfortunately, I had no clue what video that is, so I was forced to turn to the place that all YouTubers go to when they need to do research, Wikipedia. And scrolling through his entry, I realized that it's kind of insane that I didn't bother to give this thing a quick once-over before I started making this video. I should probably start thinking things through a little bit more before I go jumping headfirst into them. There's a lot of pertinent information on here, obviously, and so I figured that before I continued on with watching my next video, I'd share some of the facts I learned about Mr. Beast from just doing the most basic amount of research on the guy. First and most importantly, my assumption was right. Mr. Beast and Jimmy are the same thing, which is good. Honestly, a lot of this video would be pretty unusable if I ended up being wrong about that one, so. As it turns out, his real name is Jimmy Donaldson, which, yeah, that checks out. I don't actually know that I've ever seen a person and a name that fit together more perfectly than this guy and Jimmy Donaldson, so well done, Mr. Beast's mom. And a lot of you may be wondering why he would even bother coming up with a nickname when his given name is already so perfect. And as best I can tell, it's because he started his channel when he was 12 years old, which, like, of course that's why. Mr. Beast is absolutely the name that you give to yourself when you're 12 years old and you want to sound badass on the internet. And when you think about it like that, it's honestly kind of funny that he still goes by it. Like, I feel like it's kind of the equivalent of if everyone only referred to me by my AOL screen name from 6th grade, and I'm not gonna lie, that sounds devastating. I genuinely don't think I could go on like that. Thankfully for Mr. Beast, he doesn't seem to mind, and that might be because he's apparently still quite young. According to his Wikipedia page, he was born in 1998 and is at the time of this recording 24 years old. Not gonna lie, that one stung a little bit. Still, though he possesses the sort of youth that fills me with an odd combination of jealousy and shame, his early start on the platform means that he's been at this thing for 12 years, and his success seems to be due in part to the fact that he just stuck with it. It sounds like when he started out, he would upload a shit ton of different types of content trying to get people to notice him, and then he eventually did just that when he released a nearly 24-hour video of himself counting to 100,000, which for some reason lots of people watched, apparently. As best I can tell, he parlayed that one stunt into a series of bigger and bigger stunts, helping to grow his public image and transform himself into one of the biggest personalities on the internet today. According to the little sidebar thingy, he currently has 219 million subscribers and 34 billion views spread across 5 channels, which is more than me by a factor that I don't even think I'm capable of doing the math on. Along with the main channel I've been watching to make this video, he has a gaming channel called Mr. Beast Gaming, a reaction channel called Beast Reacts, and another channel called Mr. Beast 2. He's clearly a very skilled YouTuber, but his channel naming skills could use some work. On top of those, he also has an entire channel devoted to philanthropy called Beast Philanthropy that I feel the need to give a special shout out to because I'm very worried that people are going to think that the point of this video is to shit on Mr. Beast for an hour and change, so I want to do what I can to counter that by giving him credit where credit is due. There's not too much information about it on the Wikipedia page, and I'm not going to do any further research beyond Wikipedia because, well, I'm not a god, but apparently every bit of revenue generated by it goes to charity, and given that it's a Mr. Beast YouTube channel, my hunch is that that's a lot of revenue, so kudos to Jimmy. What's more, it seems like he's interested in environmentalism and conservation, founding Team Trees and Team Seas, which have raised tens of millions of dollars for deforestation and marine pollution respectively, and given that, well, the world is ending, anyone using their platform to keep things going for just a little bit longer gets a check plus in my book. Where most celebrities would have a section called personal life, Mr. Beast has a section called public image, and I'm not gonna lie, that does feel appropriate. It opens by highlighting the thing that I've been most worried about while making this video, and that's that people genuinely seem to like this guy. According to a poll taken in 2021, 70% of people surveyed had a favorable opinion of him, which is impressive. For comparison, I don't even think that 70% of my loved ones have a favorable opinion of me. So. Still, he's not without his detractors. Just below the part about how beloved he is are a couple of paragraphs detailing claims from a former employee who basically said that Mr. Beast created a hostile work environment and he's not as nice as a lot of people think he is. And I don't know how comfortable I feel saying too much more about that, but given my comparisons to Ellen earlier, what I will say is that I'll be very surprised if this is the last that we hear on that matter. And honestly, given how well liked Mr. Beast seems to be, there was a lot of criticisms about him scattered throughout the Wikipedia page, many of which I have also made in this very video. And seeing that makes me think two things. One, my thoughts are unoriginal and I should probably just give up. And two, he actually is pretty controversial in his own way. And honestly, in spite of all the stupid, derivative things that I've said about the guy thus far, a lot of the controversy does feel kind of unfair. Seeing it all laid out in writing like this makes me realize that just like it was with the whole curing the blind thing that he did, a lot of the criticism against him isn't saying that what he's doing is bad, it's just saying that there's a better way that he could be doing it. And thinking about it like that kind of makes Mr. Beast feel to me like someone who gave you a gift that you absolutely hate, you know? Just because you hate the gift, that doesn't mean you should get mad at the guy who gave it to you, because, like, it's still nice that they gave you something. Of course, then I think about it a little bit longer and consider the amount of power and influence that he wields, and I start to think that it's actually more like if your significant other gave you a present that you actually hate. Who they are changes the standard they're held to, and so maybe getting mad at them for doing something that seems well-intentioned is actually warranted. Then I keep thinking about it, and I remember that regardless of the good he does, nobody benefits more from Mr. Beast's videos than Mr. Beast himself. And when I think about it like that, it starts to feel like if your significant other gave you like a PS5, only you only kind of like video games, but the significant other like really likes video games, so clearly this is just like a gift for the significant other. And when I think about it like that, it honestly starts to feel a little bit infuriating. And then just when I start to feel like I have no choice but to figure out what mansion Mr. Beast lives in so that I can fly across the country in order to light a flaming bag of dog dew on his doorstep, I remember that he also has this philanthropy channel where he does a lot of good shit he doesn't profit on that he genuinely does need to do. And I start to feel like it's more like if all that stuff with the PS5 happened, but then on top of that, your significant other also gave you a really thoughtful gift that you love. And I don't know, after that, I just start feeling like I don't know what to think. And I guess that this is all just a long way of saying that I left the Wikipedia page with a lot of questions, which is unfortunate because one thing I didn't get from it is the one answer that I was looking for. Nowhere on the page does it mention which video was the beginning of Mr. Beast's lifelong penchant for giveaways. So if I truly want the origin story I'm looking for, I'm going to have to do it the old-fashioned way, by scrolling through a bunch of old YouTube videos. Wish me luck.
This is not clickbait. I am going to give a random homeless guy $10,000 today.
I went to Mr. Beast's YouTube page, sorted his videos in chronological order, and then I scrolled to the bottom of 12 years or so worth of uploads. After that, I started scrolling up one by one until I found the first video I could where it seemed like he was giving away money. Eventually, I came across a video from 2017 called Giving a Random Homeless Man $10,000, which seemed to be what I was looking for. And there's a chance that I'm wrong here because my methodology isn't exactly foolproof, but in the video he talks as though giveaways are something new for him, so this is the one that I'm going with. And after watching the video, I was surprised to realize that I had actually seen it before. Or at the very least, I had actually seen people talk about it before. I've spoken before on here about the reaction channel I watch sometimes run by Franciscan monks, even though I'm not religious and don't really think that I agree with most of their politics, and they had actually done a video in which they reacted to a bunch of Mr. Beast videos that I watched a while back. Don't judge my YouTube choices. The pandemic was a weird time for all of us. Thinking back on it now, the monk video was probably my first introduction to Mr. Beast, and so I'm pretty sure that it's where my initial perception of him as this ultra-generous YouTuber was formed because the monks absolutely loved him. Father Casey in particular seems to be a very big fan. As they watched the video, they painted Mr. Beast as this sort of avatar of charity and Christian values, and because of that, I kind of had it in my head that the money he was giving away was his own. So you can imagine my surprise when I went to watch the video and realized that even this early on, the little bastard was already being sponsored.
And just so we are all on the same page, this is not my money. This is a new weekly series where I'm getting companies to sponsor my videos and I'm giving 100% of what they pay me away to random people.
I'll admit that I'm a little bit hazy on the specifics here. The Friars talked about the video as though Mr. Beast was being paid 10 grand to do any ad that he wanted, and he decided to take that money and give it all away, which, well, if that is the case, then that is very nice of him. Unfortunately, though, jaded old me doesn't really think that that's the case. The way that he words it makes me think that this video is closer to SpawnCon, and that the 10 grand was a separate thing from what he was paid for the sponsorship that was only given to him for the purposes of making the video. I wish I wasn't such a downer about this stuff, but unfortunately, years of working on the internet means that I no longer have the sunny optimism of a Catholic monk. And you know, maybe I'm wrong and the truth lies somewhere in the middle, but whatever the case may be, what I will say about the video is that I'm extremely impressed that baby Mr. Beast managed to pull it off. Granted, he does mention that he has nearly 1 million subscribers at this point, but at the time that this was made, I sat in on multiple branded content meetings for a much larger YouTube channel than that. And I can tell you with confidence that getting advertisers to agree to this sort of thing is not as easy as it sounds. So it makes me believe that on top of all of his other skills as a YouTuber, the guy is one hell of a salesman to boot. As for the video itself, I'm not gonna lie, it got me. It may be hokey and overly saccharine, but I feel like nothing will make me well up quicker than watching someone who needs a break get a break.
Yeah, I swear. No, I don't like.
No, man.
It basically consists of Mr. Beast putting the money in a bag.
I guess that's a good problem to have when your money doesn't fit in your envelope.
Giving the money away to the guy he finds begging on the side of the road.
If you want to take it, it's about $10,000. I'm not joking.
You're right.
Interviewing the guy for a bit.
Here, let's ask him a couple questions, because I'm sure people are going to be interested in what you're going to plan on doing.
And then taking him out to lunch.
So, right now we're just going to get some food. By the way, where do you want to go eat?
Where are we gonna go?
He also mentions that he's going to do a follow-up with the guy in a month, but I couldn't find the video where that happens, so I'm just going to assume that everything went well and they all lived happily ever after. And is it perfect? No, it's not. Surprisingly, a 19-year-old YouTuber from Greenville, North Carolina doesn't have the most nuanced views on homelessness in America. The only time I felt super icky watching this is when Mr. Beast asks if the guy would show the viewers the tent that he lives in, and the guy gets a little bit embarrassed and politely declines. And obviously that's not great, but to Mr. Beast's credit, he immediately backs off and apologizes. And I honestly do get the sense that Mr. Beast is doing his absolute best to be as respectful as he can in this situation. So even if there are a couple icky moments here and there, I still give him points for trying. Still, this wouldn't be me talking about a Mr. Beast video if I didn't have some amount of conflicting emotions about it. And so one thing that I will say is that even this early on, and even in the face of something as serious as homelessness, it feels very clear to me that Mr. Beast was already hyper-focused on his own brand. When he's giving away the money, he repeats this same basic phrase a couple of times.
So it's a series where I just, be nice and just give people some help. Now, I have about 1 million subscribers, so I just wanted to do some good. Like I said, I'm a YouTuber, and I'm just going around doing some good.
And maybe I'm reading too much into it, but the way he says it feels a little bit canned to me, almost like he came prepared to say it on camera to let people know that he's the guy who's just trying to do some good. It kind of reminded me of a moment I picked up on all the way back in the Buried Alive video, where he makes sure to say, this is real.
It's almost like we don't fake challenges, we do them.
And lots of other moments scattered throughout the many videos I've watched that all seem designed to reinforce Mr. Beast's image as this genuine, nice internet dude to all of us watching. Everything that I've watched from him leads me to believe that Mr. Beast is a guy for whom public image is everything. And I think that the seeds of that might already be visible even this far back in his tenure. Then again, he might just be repeating himself because he still seems like he's a little bit nervous in front of the camera. I don't know. I'm not a mind reader. Still, even if you think it's a stretch to say that he's already pushing his own brand here, one thing that you can't deny is that he is doing absolutely everything that he can to grow it. The video ends with Mr. Beast making an appeal to other advertisers looking to sponsor future giveaways in a way that almost feels desperate.
And if you are a brand or a company, I want you to sponsor my next one of these videos. I want to do a series where I just give away money to people. You know, we could pay off someone's student loan. We could give 100 people $100. I don't care what we do, you know? You could tell me what you want me to do, any companies out there, and I'll do it, and I'll shout you out like I shouted out Squid, give you, you know, a minute or 2 minute slot in the middle of the video, whatever you want. My business email will be linked down below. Just, you know, shoot me an email. I'm down to work with you, and yeah.
Looking at that, it feels clear that for Mr. Beast, this was only the beginning, and while I don't doubt that he actually did have the best of intentions with making this thing, closing it out like that does make this feel less like someone who's trying to do some good and more like a proof of concept. That said, though, I also very much understand being a YouTuber who is desperate for advertisers, so I'm not going to fault him that much for that. And also, if you're an advertiser out there, please, 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 for the love of God, advertise with me. I will do anything. And I mean anything. But yeah, all in all, I'd say that this video is fine. I'm not mad at it, and I hope that the dude they helped out is doing okay. And as much as I'd love to leave things at that because this thing is already very long, and frankly, I'm tired of watching Mr. Beast videos, I don't think I can do that, because ultimately, I don't think that this counts as an origin story. The fact that he already had a sponsor going into it makes this feel like it's the continuation of a path that he was already on, and if I want to get a better sense of this guy, I'm going to have to go back a little further, and unfortunately for me, all signs point to one video in particular. Alright, I'm going to be really upfront with you guys and let you know right now that I did not actually watch the video I'm about to talk about. I watched parts of it, and I feel like I get the gist of what I didn't watch, but I will concede that there's a chance that there's actually something really interesting that happens in the middle that I will never know about. I will also say up front that I will not be including any clips from the video because I truly think that if I tried to download it as a file, my computer would flip me off and then burst into flames. It is literally just 24 hours of Mr. Beast counting to 100,000, and it is both the stupidest thing that I have ever heard of, and also kind of genius. It's stupid because, like, who's watching this? If I tried, I could not think of anything more boring to watch than someone counting, much less someone counting for 24 hours straight. Still, it's brilliant because, well, of course people will watch it. This is the internet. People love stupid shit like this on here. It is a 40-hour test of endurance that he willingly subjected himself to in order to accomplish the stupidest goal imaginable. There are entire industries on YouTube devoted to covering shit like this. And to his credit, I think Mr. Beast seems to have known that with this video, he was playing right into the internet's hand. And like again, I can't show you the clip because my computer will cry, but to show you what I mean, I will read you an excerpt of one of the few things he says in the video that isn't counting. All I want to say is tweet this video out, share it with maybe Keem or Scarce, and if you're a YouTuber, just help a guy out. I mean, think of the pain I'm about to go through. I don't know why I made him British. I looked it up and I think that Keem and Scarce are Keemstar and John Scarce, who seem to have been the two biggest YouTube news reporters at the time. Because apparently YouTube news reporters are a thing. And the fact that he calls them out right there at the top of his video kind of confirms what I already knew, and that's that the sole reason that this video exists is to grow his channel. Like, I don't think that the point of the video is the video itself so much as the idea of the video. In making it, he was essentially telling YouTube that he was willing to torture himself for a day and change in order to feed into their ecosystem, and in return, all he wanted was the notoriety that comes from that. Honestly, the more I think about it, the more I think that this might be one of the stupidest, most shameless, soulless, bold-faced attempts at internet clout that I have ever seen in my life. And I say that with complete respect because it totally worked. Everything I looked at, from Wikipedia to the Franciscan monks, said that this is the moment that Mr. Beast became Mr. Beast. As best as I can tell, the publicity he got from this video is what caused his channel to grow, which led to sponsorships, which led to him giving money to that guy on the street, which led to him becoming the powerhouse that he is today. And I'm not gonna lie, at first there was something kind of unsatisfying about that. I spent so much time thinking about this guy that I built him up into this great complicated figure, so to find out that he came from something as stupid as counting to 100,000 feels wrong. I've zigzagged between thinking mildly highly of him and thinking fairly negatively of him for weeks now, and so this just feels a little bit too neutral for my tastes. Whether he's a hero or a villain, you want a good origin story, and this just isn't it. Or at least that's what I thought. The more I think about it, though, the more I think that this makes perfect sense as a starting out point for him, because it honestly is just kind of Mr. Beast boiled down to his purest form. When I think back over all the videos I talked about here, the one thing that connects them all isn't giveaways or their glossy tone. It's the fact that they were all just stunts. They may have grown a lot and added a few bells and whistles and even helped a lot of people along the way, but at their core, I think that every one of the videos I've seen have been just like this first one. Stupid, soulless, shameless, bold-faced attempts at internet clout. And realizing that, a lot of the other pieces I've been looking for all kind of felt like they fell into place. The county video may have been stupid, and I may have technically not actually watched it, but I do think that it finally gave me the answer to the question I asked all the way back at the beginning of this video. So, who the fuck is Mr. Beast? Honestly, I think he's someone not so different from me who just wanted to be popular on the internet. Although that said, he is different from me in the fact that he is much, and I cannot stress this enough, much better at it than I could ever hope to be. Obviously, this is all just my own speculation based on a fairly limited pool of information, but from what I've seen and what I've read, it seems like he was a kid who was extremely driven to be a YouTuber and did everything that he could to achieve his goal. When I was scrolling through his old videos trying to find his first giveaway, one thing that I noticed was that a lot of the videos were about YouTube itself. I didn't watch any of them because they're 8 years old, and that sounds awful, but with titles like How Many People Get the Golden Play Button and Increase Your YouTube Views 2015, it led me to believe that he has a genuine interest in the platform and was studying it from a very young age. What's more is that like 12 of the videos I scrolled across were specifically about the finances of YouTubers, which seemed to suggest two things. One, he viewed being a YouTuber as a viable career path, and two, the fact that he ultimately became one of the highest paid people on the website wasn't just a happy accident. Of all the old videos I scrolled across though, the most interesting one by far was something called Hi Me in 5 Years, which is basically just a young, naked-faced Mr. Beast calling his shot. In it, he talks about his goals for the future, and he comes across as a very driven young man who, like a lot of high schoolers, is bordering on obsessive.
But so let's see. Dude, if I don't have 1 million subscribers when you see this video, my entire life has been a failure. I hope I have 1 million subs. I better have 1 million subscribers when you guys see this.
And like, I'm not gonna lie, there is something kinda inspiring about it. He has accomplished all of his goals and then some, and I feel like if that beardless little twerp could see the man he is today, he would probably soil himself with excitement. Still, the thing about the video that stuck out the most to me is that while he's listing his goals for the future, one thing he never really mentions is a specific reason he wants to be on YouTube. He never says, I hope you're making Let's Plays, or I hope you're using your immense platform to cure 1,000 blind people and give someone who lost their eyesight in a go-karting accident a Tesla. And actually, I said he listed his goals, but really I should have said he listed his goal, because the only thing he does in the video is repeat over and over again that his future self had better have 1 million subscribers. The sense I get from watching it is that little baby Beast was a blank slate of sorts, willing to do whatever it took to become an 18-year-old's nebulous conception of the ultimate YouTuber, and so that's kind of what he did. Like I said, it seems like he tried a lot of different shit until he found something that hit, and then he took that and learned from it and tweaked it until he got another hit, and then he kept honing his output to adapt to what he learned worked for him until he became the Mr. Beast that we know today. I may have talked some shit about my Shane Dawson video up top, but I actually think that I'm going to draw a lot of the same conclusions that I did there here, because I think that the two men share a lot of the same DNA. I think that they're both human algorithms of sorts, with the sole goal of becoming popular. They take in information about the world around them and transform themselves based on the things they learn, and in a weird way, they kind of end up tapping into the collective unconscious of the masses that they're trying to appeal to. Which is not to say that I think he sits at home reading a stock ticker saying, "The Dow is down, better renovate a veteran's home." I mean, maybe he does, I don't know, but honestly, as best I can tell, he relies on YouTube stats and his own instincts. But just by doing that, he's managed to transform himself into an icon of sorts. Like, I honestly think that I was wrong before. Mr. Beast and Jimmy aren't the same thing. I think Jimmy is a guy who wanted to be popular, and Mr. Beast is the facade he created in order to achieve that goal. And it's weird because I do kind of think that part of the appeal of Mr. Beast is that he seems real, but I think that might just be because by design, Mr. Beast is meant to be everything to everyone. He's larger than life, but he's relatable. He's a savior of the poor, and he's the kind of rich person that you could only dream of becoming. He's a paradoxical figure in a lot of ways, but he's the kind of paradoxical figure that people want to believe in. And I think I mean that literally. When I was talking about the blindness video, I implied that it seemed like Mr. Beast was trying to make people think that he was Jesus, and at the time I was mostly joking, but the more I think about it, the more I think that, yeah, he kind of was. Because I actually do think that the Mr. Beast persona does feel Christ-like in a lot of ways, only it's Christ-like in the ways that conservative Americans seem to believe in Christ. He's this larger-than-life, benevolent figure in whom Christian ideals and unfettered capitalism somehow exist hand in hand. And thinking about him like that, you do kind of get why he appeals to such a large swath of people. Not for nothing, but there's a reason that those friars absolutely loved him. Which again is not to say that he's actually Christ-like. I didn't need the public persona section of his Wikipedia page to tell me that there's probably more to the guy than what he shows in his videos. Rather, I think what he's done is that he's managed to make himself seem like this impossible ideal in order to become the juggernaut of popularity that he is. He's donned a Christ mask to get people to follow him in order to further his own goals. Although saying it like that, it does kind of sound like I'm saying that Mr. Beast is the Antichrist, which is not what I wanted to do. Although that said, if it does turn out that the Antichrist exists, I wouldn't be surprised if it was someone like him. Also, his name is Beast. No, I don't want to go down that path. That said, though, I have been doing that a lot while writing this video. Something about the guy makes me want to try and turn him into something bigger than he seems, but I honestly don't think that he is. Like, have you ever stared down a long, dark hallway long enough that your eyes start to play tricks on you and make you see shapes that aren't there because you feel like there should be more there than there actually is? Well, yeah, that's kind of what it felt like thinking about Mr. Beast for the amount of time that it took me to write this video. He exists at the nexus of so many big important issues of the day, economic inequality, healthcare, internet culture, etc., 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 that you kind of assume that he must contain some big answers that the rest of us don't have. But I really don't think that he does. I think that those are just big parts of the society he exists in, and he's created a facade designed to reflect that society. And on one level, that's kind of annoying. I spent multiple weeks studying the guy, seeing if I could learn any insights on how to become a successful YouTuber, and the conclusion I drew is that he's a successful YouTuber because he wanted to be a successful YouTuber. On the other hand, though, it is kind of hopeful. I think that if I've learned something from him, it's that becoming popular is a lot simpler than it seems. I think his big secret is working hard, wanting it, sticking with it, and following what works. And while I don't think that those things guarantee success, I do think that those are the things that are necessary in order to achieve it. And if that's the case, thinking about it like that does make growing my channel feel doable for the first time in a long time, which, I'm not gonna lie, is kind of nice. Still, I feel like it's only appropriate that I end this video on some deeply conflicted emotions. And for as nice as it is to look at Mr. Beast and feel like becoming popular is doable, the time I've spent analyzing his content has kind of made me wonder, is it actually worth doing? But yeah, that's my video. I hope you liked it. Please like and subscribe and share. And if you're a Mr. Beast fan, don't kill me, I guess. Just insult my family in a comment below. Also, if you want to help me on my road to maybe becoming popular one day, one of the best ways you can do it is by subscribing to my Patreon if you have a couple of extra bucks that you can spare. If not, I understand, but if you do, then it really does help me out. And if you already have subscribed to my Patreon and are looking for other ways to help the channel, may I recommend buying this I Am Pro Joyce shirt that I designed myself. I won't explain what it means. There's a video that does so for me if you're curious, but the short answer is that I was drunk and now I have to sell these. But yeah, that's my video. Thank you for watching. I'm worried this is going to be a very long one, so if it was a long one, thank you for sticking with it till the end. I don't know, I recorded this late, so I'm tired. I'm going to go to bed now. Just kidding. Welcome back, real fans. It's time for everyone's favorite section of the video, Willie posing for thumbnails while the patrons' names scroll up. I should come up with an actual name for this because I think I come up with a new one every video, and it's much more I don't know, fuck it, I just should start posing. So for this one, the video is going to be called Who the Fuck is Mr. Beast? And I think that I'm going to be like, oh, because I genuinely don't know. I think I'm actually going to write, I genuinely didn't know. So I'm just going to do this. But I do feel like I should do like a big smile, because that's kind of what he does in all of his thumbnails. So I should go like, oh. I don't have as good of a smile as Mr. Beast, but like, maybe I should seriously. It's a very fine line when I smile, because I feel like sometimes it can kind of look like a good smile, but like not a good smile, but like a passable smile. But like if I do it wrong, I can get like clown that just burned down an orphanage, and I don't know that that would be very good views wise. So like that's the scary one. So I feel like I don't want to look at these later. I hate my smile. That's kind of hey, who is he? I don't know. Who's Mr. Beast? I just spent a bunch of weeks figuring it out and I still don't know. Click on my video. Ooh. I feel like I should start doing this section drunk. Try not to drink as much. I guess I don't really make videos that much in the grand scheme of things. Huh? And then maybe just like one without the creepy smile. Just, oh no. Who's Mr. Beast? Who is that guy? Click my video to find out. I don't know. I feel like this part of the video is never coherent. This is the latest I've recorded in a very long time, and I feel like I've really taken the incoherence to new heights this time around. Whatever, it is fun. I usually spend like a solid 3 weeks writing a script for these things, and then a lot of times people seem to like this part where I'm just rambling the best. So maybe I should just start making videos where I just have no plan, nothing to, I just come in here, just let it flow. Not even proper English. What am I doing? Oh no, my puppy is about to start barking at me, so I think I'm just gonna go with the creepy smile one and call it a night. Thank you guys for watching. Yeah.